White House officials insist that Mr. Obama has been a friend to Israel and point to a recent $38 billion military aid package, the largest in U.S. history. As for Donald Trump, he tweeted after the vote that things at the UN will be different once he's in office. Dana.
Margaret, what are we to make of the U.S.'s change, this abstention today as compared to 4 years ago?
Well, after talking to White House officials, they basically said, look, privately, President Obama has warned Benjamin Netanyahu that he needs to stop constructing settlements. They've been concerned by a spike in building on his watch, along with a spike in demolition of Palestinian homes. President Obama had John Kerry spend the better part of 2 years trying to get peace talks going. Those totally failed. They blamed both Palestinians and Israelis for that. And so at the tail end of the Obama administration, they decided, let's send a clear signal, because this is at least a symbolic move here to say that things have reached this breaking point. And if you ignore your closest military ally and the biggest provider of your U.S. military aid, when we tell you that your security is being undermined and that peace will be impossible if these continue, there are going to be consequences. So for the Obama administration, they really viewed this as the exclamation point on a sentence they've been repeating for 8 years now.
We know that the president obviously has very little time left in office. Unsure if that's a factor, but what of the timing of this? Why did Egypt decide to bring the resolution now?
Well, it was a surprise in some ways, the timing of this. Egypt proposed it, then they delayed it after Donald Trump called to intervene. Israel actually called the president-elect because they couldn't convince the sitting president to back off. Then the resolution went forward with Senegal and New Zealand sponsoring it because Egypt got a little nervous there and backed away. So long story short, the world community has long held this position. It is illegal under international law. The U.S. has just shielded Israel up to this point. So it was in some ways a matter of time before the U.S. decided whether to change its policy on the international stage or not. So Egypt, ironically here, Dana, has gotten really, really close to Benjamin Netanyahu's government in Israel. So it is a bit of a surprise they did this.
And Benjamin Netanyahu came out obviously against this, said that they won't stand for this or uphold this. What more are we hearing as far as Israel's reaction?
Well, backlash, diplomatic punishment to the countries of Senegal and to New Zealand. Basically, anyone who supported this is going to pay a price when it comes to diplomatic relations with Israel. Here in the U.S., on the domestic politics, it's hard to find anything that Democrats and Republicans agree on with Donald Trump, but you are hearing from a lot of congressional leaders here threats to cut funding to the UN, definitely lip service at a minimum to this idea that in some way this resolution can be viewed as anti-Israel. The administration goes to great lengths to say, no, this is anti-Israeli settlements. So what we do know is after January 20th, we will have a president who has up to this point made clear he doesn't care if it's illegal under international law. He doesn't care if the U.S. policy from every president up to this point has said that it is a block to peace. He supports moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, to what is considered occupied territory, and he also has supported and financially provided aid to different charities that support building of settlements. So it's going to be a big policy change. We'll see if Donald Trump follows through on his campaign pledges. So far, his nominee to be ambassador to Israel certainly backs up all those threats.
And as you mentioned, he certainly doubled down today by saying things will be different after January 20th. Margaret Brennan, thank you for the very latest.